Okay, let's turn this. There we go. So I'm on my way to the hospital for my second weekly checkup, and I woke up twice this morning really early. I woke up at about 3 o'clock, and I woke up at 5 o'clock. In pain both times for various different reasons. And I put the news on. I put the telly on. I find out what's happening in the world, and it's all about Brexit election 2019. The Brexit election, this Brexit that, election this, election that, and it's the same thing over and over again. But the thing is, I'm noticing now is all the parties are making promises. They're making their usual vote for me promises. You see, I'm going to start with Jeremy Corbyn because I don't trust Corbyn as far as I could throw him, which at the moment wouldn't be very far anyway. But this is what he says. Corbyn says, vote for me and I'll ensure that everyone gets free fibre broadband, saving each household on average £30 a month. Okay, well, for those idiots out there who actually believe that you can get something for nothing, you know, please vote for Jeremy Corbyn, because there's no such thing as a free deal. There's no such thing as free fibre. You see, in order to make everyone have free fibre and put the likes of BT into public ownership, good morning, you see, and other companies, you see, you got to remember, the suppliers of fibre broadband and internet in general, they're businesses. They have to make money. How do you think they make money? By having customers like you, like me. You see, they have to make money. So to give something away for nothing isn't going to be very beneficial towards them, is it? So what's going to happen is, if we all vote for Corbyn on the promise of, broadband as a sweetener, just to divert everyone's attention away from the fact that he, wants to fuck up Brexit completely. What would then happen is, yes, you've got yourself a new prime minister, you've got yourself your new fibre, you're thinking great, and all of a sudden you're slapped with a £30 a month more expensive council tax bill, or your rent goes up because it's included in the price of your rent, and your landlord's got fees to pay because of the broadband surcharge. So nothing's ever free, especially when it comes to Jeremy Corbyn. You see, Jeremy Corbyn promises the earth, with his ridiculous amount of spending on the NHS. And don't get me wrong, I think the NHS does need a lot of money pumped into it. I think there's a lot of things that Jeremy Corbyn says that are great ideas, but it doesn't make us richer. He says, for the many, not for the few, Corbyn says. Corbyn wants to make everyone richer by making everyone poorer. The only way he's going to make everyone richer realistically is by stopping income tax for people that earn money below £40,000. That is the only way he's going to make anyone any richer. Please excuse me. I need to tie up my shoelace. This is very unprofessional, but I'm still going to talk. Jeremy Corbyn, an absolute joke. He wants to give everyone free broadband by basically charging people for it. The only way he's going to get anything to happen realistically, we're back. The only way Corbyn gets his way really, and by providing these magical unicorn services, is by taxing people through the nose. All this spending he wants to do. And Diane Abbott, her favourite thing at the moment is, we're going to borrow just enough money to get us out of debt. Think about that for a second. We're going to borrow just enough money to get us out of debt. And then what happens is the interest rate gets slapped on top of that, and then we end up paying for it. The way we did pay for everything that the last Labour government got us into. And to be honest with you, I think Gordon Brown had the best idea. He's probably the best Labour Prime Minister we've ever had. When you think about it, you know, when you think about it, he really did very little wrong in when you're in the big picture. And then you've got, I want to lay off Corbyn for a sec. Let's go over to Bojo, Boris Johnson. Boris Johnson, who is by definition the bumbling idiot. You know, I can't vote for Corbyn the same as I can't vote for Boris Johnson. I can't vote Labour the same as I will never vote Conservative. And yet he's the one who seems to have a oven-ready deal. An oven-ready deal that he seems to think he can put in a microwave. That's how bad the deal is. It's an oven-ready deal that he wants to put in the microwave. Think about that. Oh yeah, you know, they seem to think that they can get free trade the way Canada has very quickly. And don't get me wrong, I understand that we've been a part of the European Union since the beginning. I know that we are literally direct neighbours. I know that we're going to try and have as best as a relationship with the European Union as possible if and when we leave. But make no mistake, it's going to take a while to get a free trade deal, if any, you see. And then for Boris Johnson to start offering gifts and money to candidates of the Brexit party. Oh, the Brexit party. No, don't get me wrong, I'm voting Brexit party because I want something different. I really do. I want something different from the mainstream politics. You know, I want something different. I'll follow Farage to the ends of the earth because he's different. You know, we've had the same old crap over and over again. But, you know, for Nigel Farage to tactically withdraw 317 seats, I think it's actually a smart move, you see, because it makes sense. But Boris Johnson to start bribing candidates of the Brexit party not to stand in certain areas. Come on. Oh, Boris, how low will you go? I mean, really. And then you've got the Liberal Democrats, you know, do you know that woman? I actually can't remember. Is it Jo Swinson? I can't remember her name properly. And then she's bleating on about, I'm a woman. You're all sexist because you're not including me in the debates, blah, blah, blah. You are not the leader of the main opposition, you ropey tart. You think you can snag half the population's vote by saying, I'm going to reverse the referendum. That's literally what you're hoping to get in on. You see, leader of the Liberal Democrats, you seem to think you've got half of the country, almost 48% of the population, wrapped around your stubby little finger because you think it's acceptable to go against the democratic will of 52% of the nation. It doesn't matter what the margin was, it could have been 51%. It doesn't matter. More people wanted to leave. And you want to go against that by reversing Brexit. You dozy bitch. Honestly. And then you start whinging about, oh, me too, you're sexist, I'm a woman. No, it's not a case of anyone being sexist, it's a case of you being a dopey cow, is what it's a case of. And Nicola Sturgeon, leader of the SNP. Oh, woman, you want to leave this referendum behind as much as the Liberal Democrats. You want to stay within the European Union so bad. And yet you want freedom for Scotland. Is what you want, leader of the SNP. Think about this for one moment, okay? Scotland is currently part of the United Kingdom. You get everything for free. The equivalent of money paid in tax by London alone supports your education system, your free prescriptions, your extremely cheap level of housing. Everything that you get that you take for granted is paid for by the equivalent paid in tax by London alone, you see. But you don't seem to think that, do you? No, you see. And what have you got to offer, really? I mean, if you did have your independence, Scotland, you know there's more people living in London than what there are living in your great nation. There's over 8 million people living in London currently, and there's just shy of 5.5 million people living in the entirety of Scotland. So think about this for 1 second. You want another referendum, Nicola Sturgeon, to have Scottish independence. Scotland didn't want independence the first time, but you don't want to obey that referendum. No, you seem to think that people change their mind. No, that's not going to happen. So let's just say this happens, okay? Let's say Scotland has its second referendum. Let's say Scotland becomes an independent nation. Let's say Scotland has to have a hard border between England and Scotland. Let's just say, for example, that now Scotland is now an independent nation, which is now part of the EU, with only 5 million people in the country, with very little to offer. Very little to offer, to be fair. Do you know what you then have to do, Scotland? You have to pay a fee to the European Union. And believe me, 5 million people living and working in Scotland isn't going to begin to scratch the surface of the amount of money you will have to pay the European Union for your exclusive membership. And all they'll give you in return is free trade and free movement of people, which means you'll end up with loads and loads of people living in Scotland that you can't support. You'd end up losing your free education system, your free prescriptions, everything else you get that you take for granted currently being part of the United Kingdom. You'll end up having to pay for, on top of having a hefty EU bill with very little to get back in return. All because you want your independence, Nicola Sturgeon, you dozy bitch. Honestly. Oh my God, I genuinely can't wait for the 12th of December to put my vote across. Because if there is a Brexit Party member standing in my constituency, I will be voting. Because I want something different. I want a change. I know we can get better. And I know we can get a free trade deal, which is better than any kind of treaty that Bojo cooks up. And what makes me laugh about Corbyn the most is Corbyn saying, well, within 6 months, we'll negotiate a better free trade deal. We'll get a better deal than the Conservatives. We'll do this, we'll do that. We'll get the best we can, he said. And then after he's got the best deal he can, he's going to encourage everyone to vote against it and then have a second referendum and then take us all out of the Brexit debacle completely and stay within the EU. Don't you think that is the biggest load of bullshit you've heard in your entire life? So this is what's happening today. Please someone argue with me or argue between yourselves. I'm trying to get back to normal today. Anyway, have a wonderful day, everyone.